Namaste. Welcome to Jack Colley's Black Book. This is episode 35, and we're still on page 4. I'm going to start with just a short apology about a word that I used last time. Sometimes I listen to what I say and things just kind of catch me like, oh, that just didn't have the right tone. I had used the word ridiculous, and I used the word ridiculous as an adjective to sentiments. I had said that heaven and hell seemed to me to be ridiculous sentiments. And what I was going for there was the idea of heaven and hell seemed to be ludicrous to me. And I think with the term ridiculous, it almost implies that you've got to be crazy or lack intelligence, or I don't know, and maybe ludicrous isn't the best word either. I probably should have just said, that I really struggle with the concepts of heaven and hell. And for me personally, I have chosen to not believe in heaven and hell. But I felt like adding that statement that it's just ridiculous seemed to imply that an individual who would believe in heaven and hell somehow lacks something. And one thing I want to be careful of is I don't want to close communication. I don't want something to become insulting and something to feel like I'm drawing a line in the sand, because I want to keep discussion going, and that's really what this is all about. It's this, somebody, who wants to evangelize me might say, well, don't you want to be saved from hell? And sometimes I feel like saying, yes, I certainly don't want to be, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to burn in this place of eternal punishment. Of course, I don't want to go there. But could you also save me from heaven? Because I also don't want to go to an eternal church service. That just is not something that excites me in any way, shape, or form. As much as I love worshiping in different faith communities, doing that 24/7 just is not appealing. It's not very appealing at all. And so sometimes when I say those things, it's not to say that I have it figured out. And I think this is key right here. Sometimes when I make a statement like that, I'm not saying that I understand what the afterlife is like. I don't understand what the death experience is like. All I can simply say is that since I've never died, I can't really tell you about the experience. And since I've never experienced an afterlife, I can't tell you about that experience either. And so often what it comes down to is us figuring out what something is not, which gets us closer to what something is. And the closer I get to what something is, the more I have kind of dismissed, okay, it's not this, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. And it's almost like I'm peeling the layers of the onion back. And what's fascinating to me is that in the major religions, at least all of them I'm aware of, probably with the exception of Islam, I'm not aware of it, but at some point you get to that last piece of the onion that you keep peeling away. It's not this, it's not this, it's not this. And you get that last piece of the onion and you throw it away and you're left with nothing. The onion is gone. And what I want to look at is what is left. What is left? What are we working toward? What does that even mean that we peel away the layers of the onions? So in looking at these hard skills, we are, hard skills is not where it's at. So the fact that somebody can pray at a restaurant, the fact that somebody can attend a religious service, the fact that somebody can read scripture, the fact that somebody can make a podcast to try to encourage people, in their learning or their journey. All of these hard skills is really not where it's at. As much as we may need these things to help guide us, and as much as they may be important in our lives, it's not where they're at. And I think to some extent we know this. Let's see here. And I think I got the computer just kind of glitched out, so I got to make sure we're still recording here. Yep, we are. That there may have been a little glitch there, but I mean, hard skills is not where it's at, and we know this. Let me give you an example here. Um, this right here is not Jesus. Um, but this is I mean, look at this professional picture. We got the perfect hair. We've got, the steel eyes that are looking right through here. So this is Kenny Loggins. The idea, though, is that I've seen a lot of pictures come across my media feed that look more like Kenny Loggins than what I would perceive Jesus to look like. And so sometimes I see pictures of Kenny, the older pictures of Kenny Loggins, and I say, oh, that looks like Jesus. It's the idea of, I call it the Jesus is my boyfriend syndrome. I mean, people who post these beautiful pictures of European Jesus, with the perfect hair and the white toga or whatever it is they wore in those times, and Jesus is tall. He looks about 6 foot, got the sandals on, got the clean feet. I mean, he's just looking good, and you look at those images of Jesus, and I just think, what is Jesus, your boyfriend? I mean, what is this attract? I mean, what is this that I'm looking at? And so anyway, it's this idea that sometimes we try to take something and we try to make it what it's not. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's not good. Sometimes we think we're improving upon an image of Jesus by making Jesus look like Kenny Loggins, when there's a part of us that we know that's not an accurate representation of Jesus. It's really not what's going on here. Broods of vipers, if you know that phrase from the Synoptic Gospels, where I think it was either Jesus or John the Baptist, but somebody used the term broods of vipers to refer to these groups of religious individuals who were more interested in their religious traditions and their politics than they were in doing what was decent and humane in helping and relating to other people. Whitewashed sepulchres is a term, whitewashed tombs. It's like you can take a tomb with a rotting, decaying body inside of it, and you can whitewash it, and you can try and make it as beautiful as you think you can, but it's still going to be death and decay. And I am going to make the argument that sometimes people do things and we watch it and we just think, okay, that's really not right. There's just something that's not the way it should be there. I'm thinking of some of the preachers I see down on campus. So when I'm on campus where I teach, it's a downtown setting, downtown of the second largest city in the state, and there are sometimes hellfire and brimstone preachers from the Christian college next door, and they are just yelling at people that, you have to repent, you have to be saved, you have to, all of this stuff. And you watch something like that and you think, okay, that's a hard skill. Here's a person that's going to college, who's evangelizing, he's out street preaching, and yet there's something that we look at that and we just kind of, I don't know, for me, I have this weird, uncomfortable feeling like, would you please not do that? That is so not a representation of what I know of Rabbi Jesus as evidenced in the Synoptic Gospels and the Gnostic Gospels. And I just wish people would not do that. It's very uncomfortable for me. In fact, it's kind of, I could even use the word gross. It kind of grosses me out. It's like a whitewashed tomb. It's like you look and you just see death and decay, and it's cloaked in these things that we do. We're fasting and we want to tell people we're fasting. We're going to go to temple. We want to tell people we're going to temple. We want to say our prayer in public. We want to do this. And meanwhile, we have no idea what's really going on in that person's life, whether it's good or bad. There's no metric observed. Let me think what I have written here. So the hard skills are really not where they're at. We can look at them and we can observe them. But here's what I want to say. Let me think of how to say this. If we only look at hard skills, if we only look at what a person does, we really can't make, we don't really have an idea of what we're looking at. Because an individual can pray in public and we can see something for 15 seconds and not know what's going on in their lives, not knowing what they do at night, not knowing what they did yesterday, what they're going to do a week from now. In order to really see the soft skills in a person's life, and I'm going to call those soft skills the fruit of somebody's life, and we're going to unpack that probably next episode. You have to have a relationship with the individual. So you have to get to know the individual. It has to be much more than just making some casual 30-second observation of what an individual is doing. This is really important because as we peel away the hard skills, as we peel away what we can observe, what is tangible, what we can see happening, as we keep peeling it back, we get closer to the truth. And yet at the same time, using the onion metaphor, at the same time, as soon as we get to that last piece of onion and we split that last piece apart, we throw it away and there's nothing left. So here's what I want to suggest. I want to suggest that when we throw away that last piece of the onion, which is your traditions, which is your politics, which is your career, your, the things, the material possessions you've surrounded yourself with. When you get to the last part of that onion, throw it away and there's nothing left, then what is left? That's kind of interesting sounding. So once nothing is left, what is left? And here's what I want to suggest. I want to suggest that in Christianity, our task is to look beyond the exemplar of Christianity, which would be Rabbi Jesus. It's to look beyond Jesus so that we can see the Christ, the essence of the universe. So we have to look beyond what we see. We can't limit. And then even once we do that, as we keep looking beyond and beyond, all of a sudden we are left with Yahweh. We're left with breath. We're left with breathing. We're left with being in that flow. Hinduism is the same way. When you look at I think it's the 3 million or 3 billion or 300 million incarnations of God, of the God. Hinduism is not a polytheistic faith. It is a monotheistic faith in terms of Brahman. And you have these representations of God. And were you to even understand all 300 million, I forget what the number is, incarnations of God, you still would not have an idea of Brahman, of the extent of Brahman. In Taoist thought, I have the Tao Te Ching here. I'm going to read something to you. In Taoist thought, the Taoist calls it the Great Integrity. I have this book. If you're interested, again, in another scripture, I'm trying to tilt this so that it's not reflecting the light so you can see it. This is a really nice volume of the Tao Te Ching, and I'm going to read verse 1 to you, because when you peel away that last part of the onion and there's nothing left, in the Christian tradition, and I think in the Jewish tradition, you're left with Yahweh. In the Hindu tradition, you're left with Brahman. You have no other choice but to give yourself over fully and to simply live in enlightened truth. That's all you can do, is give it up and live in light and truth. And there's a story we'll share too. So this might be a little bit longer one, but anyway. So in the Taoist tradition, because as soon as you take Yahweh, as soon as you take Brahman, and as soon as you put it in some sort of human form, some sort of incarnation, it's automatically limited. And for people who may be a little bit, because I can hear some of my Christian friends be like, well, wait a minute, we're supposed to look beyond Jesus? I thought Jesus was the final thing, And I just think to myself, well, I guess that depends. I mean, do you think that Jesus can be summarized? Do you think God can be summarized in the 33-year life of Jesus? Do you think God, everything that God is, everything that the universe is, can be summarized in 4 synoptic books of the Bible that have been interpreted by Paul? I mean, do you really think God can be encapsulated in that, and that's everything that there is? To me, I think it's so much larger than that. To me, it's like, okay, go to that point in your faith tradition, but then go far beyond. Keep going. Like, don't stop. Don't think you've got it all figured out. Keep going and keep figuring it out. The Taoist says this. So the Tao that can be told, this is verse 1 of the Tao Te Ching. And I should probably give credit here. This is the translation and commentary by Ralph Allen Dale. So again, here's the cover of the book. I would encourage you to, how can I do that? Oh, look at that. How professional is this production quality here? So the Tao that can be told is not the universal Tao. The name that can be named is not the universal name. As soon as you name something in terms of Yahweh, in terms of Brahman, as soon as you name the great integrity, it's no longer the great integrity. It's no longer Yahweh. It's no longer Brahman. In the infancy of the universe, there were no names. Naming fragments the mysteries of life into 10,000 things and their manifestations. Yet mysteries and manifestations spring from the same source, the great integrity, which I'm going to interpret as Yahweh and Brahman, which is the mystery within manifestation, the manifestation within mystery, the naming of the unnamed, and the unnaming of the named. I think that's probably enough right there. But the idea is we take these incredibly big concepts of God, the universe, Yahweh, Brahman, the great integrity, and because we are trapped in this time continuum, because we're trapped in these temporary bodies, because we are recycled, if you want to believe that, you cannot help but constantly search. And then as you continue to search and figure out what these things are not, you get closer to what they are. Now, let me look at I'm looking at my outline here. I'm gonna take just a couple extra minutes. Okay. I went to a teaching on the woman at the well. And I just had some interesting questions and insights as I was listening to this teacher teach about the story of the woman at the well. So Samaritan woman, and Jesus comes to the woman at the well and asks her for a drink. And basically it's this exchange of two cultures that typically were not, did not really do well together. And yet you have this beautiful exchange of Jesus basically saying to this woman, you can live fully conscious. You do not have to rely on physical water. You can have eternal water. And so there's this very beautiful exchange. And part of that exchange is Jesus says, you are no longer going to worship on a mountain or in a temple. Eventually, you are going to live in light and truth. You're going to worship in light and in truth. In spirit and in truth. And I kind of take that to be full consciousness. To me, that is what truth is. And you have to live that way. And I think Jesus was always frequently saying, don't stop looking at me, look beyond me. Okay. He would say to his disciples, he prayed that his disciples would be one the way he was one with the Father. He was basically saying to the disciples, he wanted them to understand that they are sons of God, just as he was the Son of God. He wanted to say to the woman at the well, you are a daughter of God, just like I am a son of God. And do a little Googling, do some research on the idea of, did Jesus say the Son of God or a Son of God? It's kind of interesting that the word the isn't even there. But anyway, it's how Jesus can say to us, you're going to do greater miracles than I've ever done. And I have a couple episodes way back, 10, 15 episodes where I talk about that. everything points to what is beyond the physical and the tangible. So here's where we're going to continue here. It is, in Hindu, we look beyond the 300 million incarnations of God. We look beyond their 300 million gods to Brahman, only to find that we will never be able to fully understand Brahman, at least until we become self-actualized, fully conscious, however you want to look at it. In Taoist thought, we don't even name that which cannot be named. We're pushed toward this great integrity, only to have this great integrity to kind of escape us. And in Christianity, we're pushed. In Christianity, we are pushed toward a Son of God, this archetype, this most perfect manifestation of God, this most perfect incarnation of God in the form of Jesus, only to be told, keep looking. And that's one thing where I probably disagree subtly with some people. Some people will say, oh no, Jesus is the end point. And I would probably say, no, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep looking. The more you find that is not Yahweh, the closer you are going to get to Yahweh. And the closer you get to Yahweh, because you are saying, this is not it, this is not it, this is not it, the further away you're going to realize you are from Yahweh. So anyway, I don't know how well I articulated all of that, but anyway, sometimes I just do my best to take these ideas that are in my head, try to articulate them, but it's like, well, it's kind of like the Taoist says, as soon as something is articulated, it somehow loses its form and its function. So, all right, well, let's stop there, and I'll leave you with a picture. I thought this would be a fun game. We could play a game called Kenny Loggins or Jesus. All right, we'll see you next time, my friends.